We got a gun law update.
I'm your host, Don Hammond, with another update on California magazine law. Standard capacity magazines, that is, magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, are once again legal to possess in California for now.
Oh shit.
Let's take a look at the latest order from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals.
They're back. I can
in
get
the
mags
Duncan
again.
versus Bonta case and its practical impact. I'm a licensed California attorney and a shooting instructor. I regularly help teach the 16-hour class that's required to get a concealed carry license in California. On this program, we provide education on California's complicated web of gun laws so that responsible gun owners like you
Yeah, I
can
need
better
to take
understand how
that
to
course.
lawfully exercise their rights.
But unfortunately, I can't
California
really take
has
that
a
right now.
complicated web of firearm laws and regulations, and there are a lot of traps for the unwary. We want to help you do it right so you won't need our criminal defense legal services. Today, I'll discuss the latest legal status of standard capacity magazines. A standard capacity magazine, which California calls a large capacity magazine,
It looks
is
like
any
he has
magazine that is capable of holding more than 10 rounds of ammunition. The bottom line is that
video
old
upload
magazines and
issues.
Freedom Week magazines
Bugging out.
are still legal to possess in California as of today. It is, however, not legal to manufacture, import, buy, sell, lend, give, or receive these magazines that hold more than 10 rounds.
Oh,
The newest change comes from the Ninth Circuit and the Duncan versus Bonta case. I know, we just talked about that a few weeks ago, right? On April 10th, 2025, the court issued a limited stay of its March 20th decision in the case. In the March 20th decision, the court upheld California's magazine ban in its entirety, finding that a magazine is an accessory rather than an essential component of a firearm. Consequently, the court held that magazines are not protected by the Second Amendment and that states can regulate the possession of those accessories. The law at issue is California Penal Code Section 32310. Part of that section also requires people who are in possession of such magazines to get rid of them, either by sending them out of state, selling them to an FFL, or by turning them in at a local police station.
fuck off.
That's the part that is once again on hold. On April 10th, the Ninth Circuit granted a limited stay prohibiting enforcement of the part of the law that requires people to get rid of their magazines that they otherwise lawfully possessed.
Yeah, why the fuck would
the
anyone
California
get rid of
DOJ
what they
didn't
fucking
even
bought?
oppose this stay.
You guys are not
while we see what the
reimbursing
Supreme
them.
Court's
Well, I
going to
mean,
do.
probably might be. I don't know.
These are magazines that people had before the magazine ban took effect, or that people acquired during Freedom Week. After the March 20th decision, we were advising people to stop carrying their standard capacity magazines to avoid the possibility of being charged. Now, it's safe to carry them again. The government would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you acquired these magazines while they were banned. That's pretty difficult for them to do, and they may have trouble showing that the statute of limitations has not expired. In other words, they would have to convince a judge that you acquired or manufactured the magazines within the last 3 years before they charge you. So you still may have to be careful about carrying magazines that didn't exist during Freedom Week in 2019. Magazines for newer models of handguns, for example, may still be risky to carry. Freedom Week was the last time that a California resident could legally acquire a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds.
Yes.
That was March 29th, 2019 through April 5th, 2019. It was a time when a lower court had found in favor of gun owners
Unconstitutional,
before the
by
appellate
the way.
court placed a stay on that
All of
decision.
this is unconstitutional, by the way.
That legal maneuvering happened in the very same
Fuck
case that
the
we're talking
court
about
system.
today, Duncan
Bunch
versus
of
Bonta.
bastards.
And it's not over yet. The limited stay
They're a
from
bunch of
April
shady
10th
fucks.
is valid for 90 days to give the plaintiffs a chance to file a petition for writ of certiorari to the United States Supreme Court. The stay says the mandate is stayed for 90 days from the date that this order is filed, that was April 10th, if within that period the clerk of the Supreme Court advises the clerk of this court that a petition for writ of certiorari has been filed, then the mandate shall be further stayed until final disposition of the matter by the Supreme Court. So to extend the stay, the plaintiffs need only file their petition for review in the Supreme Court. Then we'll be legal to possess our magazines until the Supreme Court makes its final decision. That may be a decision to deny review, meaning that the court may reject the case and let the Ninth Circuit's decision stand. Or the Supreme Court may accept the case, set a briefing schedule, allow oral argument, and then finally issue a decision. If the court accepts the case, then a final decision would likely be at least a year, more likely about 2 years away. This case, Duncan versus Bonta, has been ongoing since July of 2017. Our friends at CRPA have been doing a great job of fighting every step of the way. This case is in a good position for the Supreme Court to accept it.
California
This court has been denying
rifles.
cert in cases that are not final. That is, they are still in the preliminary injunction or interlocutory appeal phases of the case. Duncan is different because it is a final decision.
California rifle and
published
pistol, so
decision
that's
at
right.
that.
Yes.
So it's a good candidate for the Supreme Court to take up. The Ninth Circuit is the most often
basically,
reversed appellate court
if you're a
when
firearm
the cases get to
advocate,
the
you
Supreme
probably
Court.
want to
So we're optimistic for gun owners.
have a
on this one.
membership with them.
We'll keep an eye
But
on
yeah.
further developments. But for now, I'm putting my standard capacity magazines back in my carry guns. I'm Don Hammond at California Gun Law, and we'll catch you all next time. Stay informed, stay legal, stay safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically, if you want to get a CCW, yeah, you have to take the 16-hour training course. Because you have to work up to it. Anyways. How's California gun law news and updates? What do we got here? Meanwhile in California City.
You've probably heard that Canadian tourism to the U.S. has dropped. What's surprising is by how much. The U.S. Travel Association warned in February just a 10% drop in Canadian tourism would cost the U.S. about $2 billion. Now, California Governor Gavin Newsom is trying to bring some of those tourists back here to our state. Today, the governor and Visit California launched a new international tourism campaign. It's aimed at inviting Canadians to visit California to experience the state's, quote, warmth and love.
California is the ultimate playground, 2,000 miles from Washington and a world away in mindset. From iconic beaches and national parks to world-class wine, food, and outdoor adventure, there's something here
see what I
for
mean? This is
everyone.
like
Last year,
California
nearly
shit.
2 million Canadians visited California because here in California, we've got plenty of sunshine and a
Hey,
whole
Canadians,
lot of
you
love
stay
for our
the
neighbors
fuck away.
up north. Because here in California, we've got plenty of sunshine. And
I mean, it wouldn't
whole
fucking matter.
lot of love.
You guys are already shady as fuck to begin with.
Last Friday around
You guys
7 p.m.,
already
I was
act
buying
like
frozen
fucking
pizza, among other things,
crazy
at a San Francisco
Democrats.
Walgreens, and
What's
suddenly
more
heard quite
crazy
the commotion.
Democrats in fucking California gonna do? It's already fucking dead. Yeah. You already have the
Three
yeah,
males
exactly. The shit.
ransacking the makeup section of a Walgreens store at First and Mission Street this past Friday night in San Francisco.
Yeah,
And
San
video
Diego,
that I
you got
recorded
the
as I was
shit
shopping
map.
There, you could see the
Right, you
individuals
got
fill up
California
bags
shit
and
map.
backpacks,
That's not what
then
you
run
want.
Out of the store
You got
untouched
California
by
fire
what appears
map
to be
now.
security taking
Not
video.
what you want.
Somebody's got to stop them.
No, 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 don't let him go. Let him.
Let
This
him go.
Walgreens
Let
store
him
is
go.
one of just a few remaining locations in San Francisco's financial district. Back in January of this year, Walgreens announced the closure of 12 other
Yeah, they
stores in
closed
San Francisco.
I say that's the California way.
The theft seen in this video comes
the
at
other
a time
one? They were
when
doing,
San Francisco police have recently pointed to year-over-year lower crime numbers in all
I think they were
areas,
doing Rite
including
Aid as
larceny
well.
thefts like this. Employees at this store, though, mentioned to me
No, it was
that
like
this is nothing
CVS
new.
or some
I
shit.
didn't see officers at the store during or after this theft, but online data shows it was reported a short time
Yeah,
later.
did you see that
The loss
fucking-
was more than $950.
The security guards are like, yo,
We have reached out to Walgreens to see if any additional measures have been put into place at this store in addition to locking up items, but have not heard back. Certainly an unsettling feeling when you see that happen in person.
Because here in California, we've got plenty of sunshine and a whole lot of love.
Yes.
Now there's no itch that a HK MP5 can't scratch.
Ooh,
unless,
that's
of course,
a pretty
you
one.
want a Uzi.
It's too much, too heavy. I need something lighter because we're gonna be doing a lot of running. I need something like, you see this here? This one or two of these. This is all I need right here. A couple of these and I'm cool. Man, and I'm gonna pay you back. You know I'm good for it.
If you haven't had the chance to see the magnificence and beauty of our great state, it's time to visit California.
It's just like, what the fuck? What is this guy doing? Anyways, Fed Chair Powell gives starkest warning yet on potential economic consequences. Sorry, I kind of said that fucked up. From tariffs.
Happening now, Fed Chair Jerome Powell giving his starkest warnings. Happening now, Fed Chair Jerome Powell giving his starkest warnings yet when it comes to the economic impact of President Trump's tariffs. We are listening in on that. We're going to bring you some more of those key details. Fair to say, though, Wall Street understandably keeping a very close eye on this. Joining me now, business journalist and the host of Public Radio's Full Disclosure, Robin Farzad. Robin, good to have you here. So just a little bit of what we have heard so far from Chair Powell talking about the level of tariff increases he said is significantly larger than what's anticipated, and the economic effects will be too. He says that includes higher inflation and slower growth. These are stark comments. They're very direct comments, especially coming from Jerome Powell.
Yeah, and it throws a monkey wrench kind of into his dual mandate of keep inflation under control and keep unemployment low. So what do you do if it's an exogenous shock? I mean, the playbook says you could go back to 1930 and look at the Smoot-Hawley tariff, and that was only 17 years after the Federal Reserve was founded.
Oh, they're only talking
So you only
about
have so much of a precedent to go on. Do you hike? Do you keep rates where they are right now? Do you give in to the White House and slash rates? It is a multi-trillion-dollar question.
Multi-trillion-dollar question. I mean, what more do you need to hear from him? What more do you think Wall Street and investors are listening for? Because those comments off the top are a lot.
Right. So if Wall Street at this point, are you rooting for bad news or good news? We're still creating a good amount of jobs, 5 years after the onset of this pandemic and this financial crisis. Remember, unemployment shot up to the teens. So prices are still a concern. There are still inflationary pressures across the economy. And if suddenly this gives cloud cover to a lot of companies preemptively, car makers, apparel makers, Walmart, Target, to go out and hike prices just purely in anticipation of inflation, and also the crackdown on immigration is on the margin inflationary. It's not going to free his hand to cut rates the way many people in MAGA and the White House and traders on Wall Street are romancing.
Wait,
right.
what? George Clooney talking?
Leading into these comments, you have the World Trade
Organization
with
Jake Tapper? What?
The tariffs from President Trump and that resulting fallout are going to sharply reduce not only global but U.S. economic growth. And they've said to expect the expectations for global trade this year have, quote, deteriorated sharply. Put that in perspective. The fact that it's deteriorated sharply, I mean, how quickly do we really start to feel this?
You'll feel it. I mean, the perception and the shock just from a couple of weeks ago where he came out with that poster. But what's interesting to me is when you see this, it's not like Trump.
Yeah, I mean, gas is already going back up.
Treasury Secretary's like,
I mean,
wait,
yeah.
Did you just see what the World Trade Organization said? No, we can't possibly crash the global economy. He's happy to play with fire, as your prior correspondent was saying.
I'm sorry, the WEF,
the judicial system and the kind of
right?
low-key
Fuck those
constitutional
guys.
crisis we have here.
They're a bunch of shitheads.
That has to worry bankers, whether you're talking about the WTO, the IMF, the Federal Reserve, that you have a person here who believes these things, believes in his methodology, going back to the 80s. Tariffs are good, and we need to protect ourselves and cover our bases. And there's no evidence to prove that it actually works in real multi-trillion-dollar reality.
And who often puts pressure, right, at least through social media, on the Federal Reserve, telling the Federal Reserve, interestingly, to stop playing politics and basically do what President Trump wants. It'll be interesting to see what the reaction is to these comments once Jerome Powell finishes speaking. Robin, we have to leave it there, but great to talk to you. Thank you. Moments ago, Fed Chair Jerome Powell giving his starkest warning yet on President Trump's tariffs.
Infidel. The level of tariff increases announced so far is significantly larger than anticipated, and the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth. Tariffs are highly likely to generate at least a temporary rise in inflation. The inflationary effects could also be more persistent.
Wall Street clearly not a fan of this new message. Joining us now to discuss, CNN business editor-at-large Richard Quest, who's actually live this hour at the New York International Auto Show. I imagine there's a little bit of chatter about this there, too. So Powell here said the public's going to pay for these tariffs and basically said, brace yourself, there's some pain coming our way.
Yes, and although he had said this before, just a few weeks ago, he sort of alluded to it and made some tangential reference. This time it was full throttle. Anybody who's used to Fed speak knew exactly what Powell was saying, that inflation is going to go up. The worry is that that inflation, once it arrives, will be persistent on top of that which is already in the system. And, you know, you go 1 + 1 + 1 equals, it means that the Fed won't be able to lower interest rates. Because what the Fed chair said is that the dual mandate, full employment, price stability, are now about to go into conflict. They're going to have higher inflation, and that's going to mean higher interest rates for a longer period. How much longer? How high? What they're going to do, no one knows because it's so uncertain. But this is not the canary in the mine. This is actually the man walking in front with a red flag.
With a red flag, but when it comes from Jerome Powell, right, it does hold a certain significance for him to be that direct.
US retail sales jumped 1.4% in March, the largest monthly gain in more than 2 years. But some economists believe the surge may have been fueled by consumers rushing to buy in an effort to beat the likely higher prices that will result from the tariffs. California is suing the administration over those levies. Governor Gavin Newsom argues the president doesn't have the authority to unilaterally impose them on Canada, Mexico and China, the state's three largest trading partners.
Gavin Newsom coming out and saying that shit, I'm just like, dude, get the fuck out of here. I can't even believe you
Let's
said
go
that
beyond
shit.
those numbers
Fuck
now.
you.
CNN business and
Go to
politics
hell,
correspondent Vanessa Yurkovich joins us. Jerome Powell has said some of these things before, hasn't he? But there felt like more urgency to them. That was probably expected. But just explain why
you,
the
CNN.
numbers seem quite positive that we're getting on the economy right now with this background.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start on what Jerome Powell just said. And as you note, he has said some of this before, but I think he's taken this a step further. And he has said that he expects higher inflation, slower economic growth. And with that, he also expects that unemployment may rise. That is something called stagflation. And that is something that the Federal Reserve has a really tough time with, because they can only sort of tackle one of those three things at only one of those three things at once. They can't do it all at the same time. So markets right now, you can see, are reacting to this. You see the NASDAQ down more than 3%. You have the Dow down over here more than 600 points. And this all really started after Jerome Powell started speaking. Yes, markets were rattled because of some news with NVIDIA saying that the U.S. government had put new restrictions over the exporting of their chips. So tech stocks were already a little bit shaky. And now you have this from Jerome Powell essentially saying that tariffs are going to make it harder for the Federal Reserve to do its job. Listen to what he just said.
Our obligation is to keep longer-term inflation expectations well anchored and to make certain that a one-time increase in the price level does not become an ongoing inflation problem. As we act to meet that obligation, we will balance our maximum employment and price stability mandates, keeping in mind that without price stability, we cannot achieve the long periods of strong labor market conditions that benefit all Americans. We may find ourselves in the challenging scenario in which our dual mandate goals are in tension.
And now he said right there that the dual mandate goals will be in tension. That is full employment, and that is keeping prices stable for Americans. So he said that we're not there yet, but that is what may be coming because of the uncertainty around these tariffs. Also, as you mentioned, Max, retail sales came in today. They were very strong, but that was to be anticipated because economists were predicting that U.S. consumers were going to start buying a lot of things and big ticket items ahead of these tariffs coming into effect. That, I believe, that is actually car retail sales for cars up 5.3% in just the month of March. We know that Ford Motor Company said that they saw a dramatic increase in people buying cars in the month of March, trying to beat those 25% tariffs on both foreign cars and foreign car parts. Two other things to keep in mind: furniture and clothing. The U.S. imports a lot from Asian countries, including China, which is currently hit with that 145% tariff. So those are two industries to keep an eye on. But I think really the takeaway, Max, from what Jerome Powell is saying is that the economy as it stands right now is pretty solid, but because of the uncertainty with tariffs, that's where we could run into some problems. And he, in his speech today, is forecasting that, Max.
Yeah, it's pretty clear, wasn't it, Vanessa? Thank you so much for that. I want to ask you, we were hearing earlier about the very genuine fear now of stagflation. It's quite a complex thing, isn't it? But this is something that economists are now warning of, and that's kind of a worst-case scenario, isn't it, for the markets?
Well, it's a worst-case scenario because there isn't an effective monetary policy tool to fight that. And I think that's what Jay Powell was speaking to today. It's a bit of a conundrum because if you're going to have rising prices and you want to tamp that down, you want to have restrictive policy. But with those rising prices, if you have slowing economic growth, then you'd like to stimulate that. So you find yourself, between a rock and a hard place. And I think Jay Powell was trying to get that message across this afternoon, and I not a prediction that we're heading there, but certainly.
Well, I mean, the fact that fucking the tariffs are fucking shit up, it's like, I mean, yeah, people are moving money a lot now. But the market's moving up and down constantly now. Anyways, we're just let's.
It's all dependent on the duration of this trade war. If in fact we start to hear about some deals being cut on a bilateral basis over the next couple of days or weeks, I certainly think that could turn the tide in terms of both sentiment and the magnitude of the inflationary pressure that we'd see with this. If in fact we're still talking about the same level of tariffs a month from now, I would certainly say a lot of economic damage that has already been done caused by this uncertainty will physically be done by a pullback
Everyone's
in spending
scared
and
of uncertainty.
A slowdown in hiring and a slowdown in economic
So
growth.
scared. They're shaking in their boots. Shaking in their boots. Almost like they want to off themselves for some reason. Almost like they don't know what the fuck to do. Almost like they want a suicide.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Carmine Sabia for Explain America, and the police had to be called at a very popular Republicans rally.
Uh-oh.
Things got out of hand.
Oh, was it at the...
Before we get started, guys, if you're not already there, please
Taylor,
go to youtube.com/@explainamerica.
Taylor Marjorie Green? That
hit
one?
that subscribe button, like, comment,
I heard some
share,
shit
hit the
happen
bell for
over there.
notifications. It all really helps us out. You know, the Democrats talk so much game about the insurrection. The insurrection at the Capitol. You guys remember that, right?
Yes.
You've heard it. How many times have you heard the word insurrection
not the
from people
insurrection.
who didn't know the meaning of the word insurrection just 5 short years ago? But you've heard it so many times. As if they don't do it. As if they don't do this kind of stuff all the time. There was a bombing at the Capitol in the 70s. Guess who did it? It was liberals. But that's not classified as an insurrection. There are people attacked. There are town halls where there are obviously paid protesters and paid agitators. And yet, we're the insurrectionists. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene was just outside of Atlanta yesterday, trying to give a town hall, interrupted by protesters. Fine, Marjorie smacked them down because that's what she does. She's very good at it. But then it got so out of hand that police had to come in and use tasers and arrest people at the scene. Why? Because liberals are basically violent people. They are basically insurrectionists. This is who they are. History
Yeah, I
has
did
proven it. You can go back
there
to
was
the
that
annals
one
of time. Go
Bernie
to the
Sanders
60s.
video
Go to the 50s.
yesterday that
It's always the
I
liberals.
put up
It's always
today,
the liberals.
and it
You know,
shows those
and
those
you even look
two
at Lee Harvey
fucking
Oswald.
crazy
Guy was a
Democrat
liberal.
fucking
He's a
dumb
huge
bitches
liberal.
just
Man
rush
who
Bernie.
went after
And then
Trump.
you had the one
we
bitch
still
being
haven't
like,
heard that
"Get
what
down,
was his
get
deal
down."
yet.
Like,
We still haven't
fuck
heard
you.
that motivation yet. But the second guy,
Oh,
we
fucking
know he was a
hog
huge
wild,
liberal.
man. It was
So,
fucking insane,
you know,
dude.
come
Fucking
on.
eating their own.
They want to talk about one day in one random January years ago when these people set cities on fire. You know, and they do it all the time. It's not an uncommon occurrence.
Correct.
I want you to watch this video and let me know what you think in the comments.
So this was the scene at Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's event in Georgia Tuesday night. 3 people were arrested for disruptions, including 2 men who were subdued with stun guns. And in Iowa, Republican Senator Chuck Grassley took questions from voters, ranging from topics from tariffs to those deportation flights to El Salvador.
We would like to know what you, as the people, the Congress, who are supposed to rein in this dictator, what are you going to do about
Who's supposed to
these
rein
sentenced
in
to
this
life imprisonment
dictator?
in a foreign country with no due process?
Group chat is back to talk
Why
about
does this
these
guy
town
care?
halls.
Why does this
First of
old
all,
dude care
stun
so much?
guns for people who come out to a
Fucking
town.
some
Charlie,
dude
your eyebrows
from
went up. Okay, so you've had
Venezuela
to
or El
hold a town
Salvador.
hall. What? Tell me the scenario where that makes any sense.
This is so strange.
First, after
To
Gabby
see
Giffords
this
was
random
shot,
stranger
I basically
want to
insisted that
bring
we always
back
have a police
this
presence in any
gang member
noticed public
for
event.
some reason.
So I'm not at all surprised that the police officers
Dude.
there. But I am shocked that police actually had to deploy a weapon on constituents, you know, who were obviously probably some
Get
of them got
shot,
out of
bitch.
control, I suspect, and that's why they were stunned. But I guess I am not stunned by what I'm seeing across the country. This anger, it feels like 2010 with the Tea Party. It feels like 2017 with the healthcare
fucking
debates.
grabbing the police.
And this is where we are. There's a lot of anger in the country, and it's being directed at their members of Congress for not providing enough check on the executive.
Yeah, there's a couple ways to handle it. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene actually told a constituent who was speaking out that they were
Taser, taser, taser. Taser, taser. First BLM mayor refuses to pay his own rent. Uh-oh.
Landlord is taking him to court over unpaid rent.
So this is South Fulton Mayor Khalid Kamau. He is
Oh,
the mayor
another
of South
Fulton,
Georgia,
South Fulton mayor. Nice. Why is it always Georgia?
which of course is the most black city with a population over 100,000, coming in at around 90% black or African American. And ever since he's been elected as a BLM activist turns mayor, he has been swarmed with controversy and all sorts of problems. In fact, we first covered this man after he was arrested for breaking into somebody's property in and around the city in which he is the mayor, and he said he was doing it in order to look inside, but the homeowner actually held him up at gunpoint until police arrived, which is
it's this
obviously
guy.
an embarrassing situation for
it's
him.
this guy.
Yeah, why were you on that property?
Yeah,
I just wanted to see the house. I do apologize.
Yeah, this guy goes to the fucking house and like tries to like sneak in and tries to go in. This fucking idiot.
Apologize to the owners. I thought it was a bit.
Embattled South Fulton Mayor Khalid Camus was arrested Saturday morning on charges he trespassed on this.
I think Nate the lawyer did something. Khalid Camus. This is fun. Hold on. I think he did something on him. Oh yeah, he did. Yeah. Yeah, I watched this one. Or I saw this one.
property on Cascade Palmetto Highway and committed first-degree burglary, which is
this fucking
Sources
guy's
say the
an
property owner held
idiot.
Camus at gunpoint until cops arrived, but police have yet to confirm that. In his mugshot at the Fulton County Jail, he smiled big, but minutes earlier, he told Fox 5's Deidre Dukes.
Apparently he's back.
I apologize for the negative attention this has brought to our city.
His arrest is just the latest in a string of bizarre incidents in South Fulton since he took office last year.
I hope that the spotlight that is on our city right now will highlight some of the.
I don't remember if I watched that one 2 months ago. I can't remember.
However, it didn't stop
we
there,
might
much
have.
like
I
the
can't
super mayor,
remember.
who, by the way, would label all this false allegations and not facts.
False allegations.
Yes, false
Khalid Kamau
allegations.
has also
Yes.
run into a bunch of trouble due to the fact that he appears to have spent a lot of taxpayer money going on vacation in Ghana. Again, much like Karen Bass and all these other black Democrat politicians, for whatever reason, they're constantly in Ghana to party. And I believe he was there for a month. He ran up the bills over there, and this actually caused the city council in that particular city to freeze many of the spending authorizations that he has, because the man can't be trusted. Because as we showed in that previous video, they don't have any business that connects South Fulton to the nation of Ghana.
Yeah, what?
South Fulton resident Rashad Snellings wants to know if this
Yeah,
trip
he
to
went
Africa
over there
was
on
the city's
taxpayer
dime.
money.
Want to find out if taxpayers paid for this trip.
For more than 20 days, Snelling says the mayor of South Fulton, Khalid Kamau, who now goes by the name Mayor Kobe, documented his trip to Ghana on Instagram.
We should not be asked to go without something so that our elected officials can travel all over.
Yeah, this
Bank records from
fucking
the Mayor
guy.
City issue credit card shows more than $25,000 spent between October and December.
Is the city of South Fulton doing any business in Africa?
Not to my knowledge. That's not even a priority.
Councilwoman Helen Willis says this week the council has been investigating the purpose of the mayor's trip and his spending.
He needs to
why
provide
did he
an
go?
explanation to the people why he has done some of this frivolous and unapproved spending.
And by the way, based on the videos that we saw of him in Ghana, he was partying it up and not doing business, even if they had business in Ghana. So we're going to break down the latest updates in this particular story. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money.
Give you?
Give me the money.
Oh, give
okay?
me.
They were surprised
Pay
by
me.
this news. We did find he stays
Who
in
pay
this
me
apartment
now?
complex that's right around the corner
pay me
from
right
City
now?
Hall. The mayor told me today in a
Pay me
statement
right
that this
now.
is just another political agenda related to the re-election, his re-election campaign. In the meantime, supporters told us this is another
Littering
action to
in.
discredit his name.
Yeah, so the mayor that, of course,
in.
has all these different problems in terms of government spending is on the verge of being evicted from an apartment complex, which, by the way, I find to be hilarious for a couple of reasons. One, the man cannot manage his personal finances, and that is reflected in his inability to manage the finances of South Fulton. Again, authority that had to be restricted from him by the largely black city council members. And in fact, I think they're 100% black city council members, which will come into play later. But of course, this guy decided to blame evil white racism. But even funnier than that is the fact that the neighbors that live in the complex with him had no idea that they were living in the same apartment complex as the mayor. Again, this guy is supposed to be the public face of this particular city, and he doesn't communicate with his neighbors at all.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't even know he lived here.
South Fulton renters say they were surprised to learn their neighbor, Mayor Khalid Kamau, is in jeopardy of being evicted from this apartment complex.
They didn't know the mayor was even next door to him.
It has nothing to do with his function as a public official. That's really his private life.
So obviously we're going to get to the
Georgia,
rent that is
you
owed
scary.
by Mayor Khalid Kamau that he is about to be evicted over in a moment.
You guys gonna
but
get
if you think I'm just
fucked
gonna
up.
ignore this guy's mustache right here, this very aggressive in-your-face mustache,
Doesn't
and
Georgia
not
have
take
like a
time
deficit
out of this particular
as well?
video to highlight the size
Just
and
like
scope
California.
of that mustache, then
If
you're
anything,
absolutely crazy.
Georgia
Let us
and
all take a moment to
California,
realize that this is
fucking
what
New
this
York,
man wears on his face.
Chicago,
Everybody got it?
right,
You absorbed it. Now let's get
Chicago,
back to the story.
Fulton County court documents
Yeah,
show
these places
a
are
summons
all
was given to the
fucked
mayor
up.
on March 19th for
Even Florida.
$1,663 owed for back rent for the month of March. I reached out to the mayor on
North
Tuesday.
Carolina
He told me in a
just got
statement, quote,
fucked up
I
too,
represent over 200 million
recently.
Americans for whom an unexpected expense of $1,000 can mean financial catastrophe.
Okay, so the mayor of South Fulton owes about $1,600 in backed rent, which does not seem like it's a lot for him to owe, but you have to understand that according to him, this just makes him representative of the 200 million Americans Americans who are $1,000 away from an emergency completely devastating their lives. Now, I'll just point out a couple of things. First and foremost, the original stat that we were talking about that he's referencing said that 40% of Americans would be done by $1,000 emergency. Now, again, we will get into the details of that a little bit later, but this is 40% of working Americans, not every American. We're not talking about children and whatnot. So this would be a significantly lower number than, of course, 200 million, because again, that's almost 2/3 of the nation's population. That's like 66% total, not factoring out the children and all the people who wouldn't qualify for this survey. In addition to that, one of the things that we also discovered when we look into the data from the Federal Reserve is that these people didn't say that they couldn't afford $1,000 emergency. They said that they wouldn't use their checking or checking account equivalent to pay a surprise bill of $1,000, not necessarily an emergency. And one of the reasons why we know that they weren't thinking of an emergency when they were asked this question is that the number one reason people who had the money said that they would pay it a different way is because they were worried about an emergency. So not having enough money to pay for an emergency because you're saving for an emergency doesn't make any sense. So just to be clear, that survey that he's referencing, he has the math completely wrong, and of course the survey is completely
not
wrong.
mathing correctly.
But again, we're talking about
shit.
$1,600 that this man owes.
One of the things all South Fulton residents are tired of
shit.
is, wow, we're on the news again for a scandal or some bad story.
In February, council members voted to freeze the mayor's budget and limit his authority after allegations he used taxpayer money for unauthorized international trips.
So
and
we covered a little
purchases
bit
for
of
his
this.
office.
This apartment area is nice, but I just didn't think he would live in a place like that.
So yeah, as you can see right there, they froze a bunch of his assets because he spent over $32,000 on vacation in the nation
Holy
of Ghana
shit.
when the South Fulton city does not have any business with the nation of Ghana. But also what is not really being covered in this particular story is the fact that there's another thing that actually impacts whether or not he could pay his rent, and it is not the regular standard ordinary emergency that you or I might engage with and might have trouble with. It's actually his own incompetence because, like the super mayor, Khalid Kamau decided to spend $5,000 of taxpayer money on a mural, on a thing for his
this
office,
Khalid guy,
and
he's
the
just
city
like
actually
Tiffany
refused
Henyard.
to pay it.
Just
But in
an
fact, they
absolute
actually took it one
buffoon.
step further
Like,
and
he's
decided
gonna
that they were going to
he's gonna
garnish the
torture fucking
$5,000
city.
worth for this mural from the paycheck of their mayor, and
He's
considering the pay
not
for
a
the
good
position
fucking
of
council
South Fulton
member,
mayor is
or whatever the fuck he
$47,000,
is.
which does not seem like a lot.
And
A
the funny thing is,
$5,000
the
garnishment
people who
is a
keep
big deal,
putting
but
him
make
up
no
there
mistake
is
about
the
it,
fucking
that
right
garnishment
is the
on Khalid Kamau.
constituents.
He is the one who decided to
vote-
misappropriate
these
taxpayer funds.
idiots
The city council
are
is
just
holding him
absolutely
accountable. So the idea
retarded.
that this is a political eviction? No, it absolutely isn't.
they're all
He's not paying
activists.
his rent.
They're all
he chose to
retarded.
get a dumbass mural on the taxpayer dime that
They
was
are-
non-refundable.
they want
and
their
the city
own
councilors
downfall.
actually representing the other
Right,
taxpayers.
they're
decided to
hurting
get
themselves.
the money back from him, which I can respect.
They're allowing themselves to get fucked up by the
The mayor never made good on this invoice for more
They're
than
just allowing their own
The office
downfall.
wanted the mural installed ahead of some event I do not know.
Channel 2 was at that event where the mayor showed the mural.
We are in the business of making sure that we're not harming small businesses.
Councilwoman Carmelithia
Oh, that's
Dunn says
funny.
the
No.
council was given
Oh,
authorization
really?
to unfreeze the mayor's budget.
You should have
to
saw.
pay this invoice.
Well,
The mayor
you
decided
kind
to,
of sound
do
like
it off a
new
handshake,
scum.
And that's not how
And
we
look
do
what
business
happened
in
to
local
fucking
government.
Now, obviously, you have to
some
see
of
the mural,
California.
and what you find out is
Oh,
it's
fucking
just a
half
map
of it
the
is
world.
dead.
He spent $5,200 to get a mural of a map of the world, which, by the way, has Africa in the center. Don't think I didn't notice that.
It is
on
filled
his
with
wall. And I gotta
fucking
give credit to the
dumbass
city council
Democrats.
in South Fulton because they were not having it. I mean, we talked a lot about these other corrupt places where the city council is in
Yeah,
on the corruption.
fucking-
They don't appear to be messing around right here.
California
And
is
they
so
forced this guy to
fucking
pay back
corrupt.
That $5,200. Even though that's what's leading to him getting evicted, it's just
I'm surprised
amazing.
I'm
It's
not
impressive.
getting
You
fucked.
gotta love it.
I mean, at this point, it feels like I'm getting fucked by the
Tuesday
system.
night, City of South Fulton council members said Mayor Khalid Kamau must pay thousands of dollars back for this mural.
This will be paid from the mayor's budget and garnished from his wages.
And again, notice all the representatives that they're cutting to are all black. So the idea that
Yeah,
this
they're
is a
all
racial
black,
war
too,
against
yeah.
him is absurd from top to bottom.
Like I
Who needs
said,
to know? It's not affecting.
I think, like I said, my analysis still holds true. You are going to get a lot of the black population down in the south right? The southeast area. It's of the United States. It's always true, right? Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, even Louisiana. I would bet Florida too has a kind of a large population, right? That whole area. Maybe Kentucky. Missouri, the misery land. Fucking Arkansas. Is that Arkansas? Is that Arkansas? Yeah, that's Arkansas. Yeah. That area is fucking the heavily most populated black population known to man. In terms of the United States, sorry. And then once you start branching out towards right towards the west, like California or the north, right? It starts dwindling down.
The function of the government, and at a time when there are a lot of people in America facing eviction. It's very expensive to live in America right now.
Literally.
Also, I
you
will
have
point
white
out that
people,
I started off in
you
the
have
open of this
Mexicans,
video by telling you that the South Fulton
El
demographics
Salvadorians
are
getting
90+%
fucking
black
evicted.
African
You have all
American.
types of people
They quite
getting
literally
fucking
found
evicted.
the one
Let's
white
be
guy
real.
in South Fulton in order to, tell you how much they don't like Khalid Kamau, which is honestly going to lead him to calling everything evil white racism, which, by the way,
yes,
he's doing,
the evil
despite the fact
racism.
that, guess what? Everybody, or virtually everybody on the city council that works in the government and is a resident of this city is a black person.
I think the money is being spent.
They're all fucking black. Can't
Educational.
fucking play your fucking race card.
I'm amazed.
I've spoken with supporters of the mayor who say recent attempts to discredit him are politically motivated.
I think the mayor gets some unjust criticism.
The mayor's position is the
Yeah,
part-time
so he
position
has
that
to
pays
go,
roughly
oh yeah, it's
$47,000
politically
a year.
motivated,
Mayor Kamau went
because
on
he
to
can't
say
play
in
the
his
race
statement,
card.
I wasn't expecting to need a legal team when I announced my re-election plans in January, but I guess that's the way the political game is played now.
Now, I do find it funny whenever they interview supporters of these corrupt politicians that these people are just bumbling absolute idiots that never make any coherent points. And again, I talked about how the $47,000 salary for the mayor is particularly low, but make no mistake about it, this position is actually supposed to be a part-time position, so he is allowed to find other work in order to supplement his income. So again, he's not starving based on that.
Yeah,
And by the
basically
way,
having a
Khalid Kamau has
part-time
actually
job
pushed
is
for it to
kind
be
of
raised
nice.
to
I might actually do that too.
$85,000. Again, claiming it's
Just so
evil
I
white
can keep
racism
streaming.
to only pay him $47,000
Well, I
to
mean, I
steal
might
from the taxpayer
get a
for this
two job.
part-time
I don't know.
position.
We'll see.
And while
I might
this
get a
position is a
full-time job. I
part-time
don't know
job,
yet.
as the role of mayor, we did find the mayor does not have
I
another
gotta
job to supplement
check
that
them.
income. Now, Marshall's office told us that this is just the
Honestly, I
beginning
kinda
of
wanna
the eviction
try to
process.
work
At this
for,
time, a judge has not officially signed off to execute
a car
an eviction
company.
at his unit here at this property.
Kobe's time in office has been
At
contentious
least work
from
with
the
their
beginning. During his
software for a
inauguration,
little
for
bit.
example, the mayor called on the city manager, clerk, and attorney to resign. Tensions escalated further when he used his city credit card to pay for a TikTok dance video to celebrate
TikTok
the city's
dance
anniversary.
video, oh.
Police arrested the mayor in July of 2023 and charged him with trespassing of a local lake home. Then last fall, Mayor Kobe upset taxpayers when he requested his pay double. In February, city council members stripped his privileges and restricted building access over accusations he used taxpayer money on international trips and lavish office furniture. A month later, the mayor had his paycheck garnished to pay for a $5,000 mural installed in his office.
You see right there, the local news is pointing out that it is not normal, it's not ordinary for this mayor of South Fulton to not have an additional job. But then what made me laugh is that they went over a couple of different things that the mayor did since taking office. And obviously this guy is not making any friends, not making good decisions, and has survived scandal after scandal up until the point where he's likely to be voted out by the residents of this particular city. And
Well,
I just
if
want
he
to
keeps
also
fucking
say
up like
that this
he's
guy
doing.
billed himself as the first BLM mayor of a major city, and he really did live up to that billing, stealing just like regular ordinary Black Lives Matter organizers did do from the people that ended up putting them in that position. Now look, of course, I want to know what you guys think about all this down in the comments below. What do you think
fuck
about
that guy.
Khalid Kamau,
No,
or
that
Mayor
dude's shady
Kobe,
as
he
fuck.
calls himself, and
Right,
him
if you
running
Nate the
and
lawyer
winning the
already
first
did a
time as
video
the
on him.
first Black Black Lives Matter
So
mayor.
it's like he's
And what do
already
you think
shady
about his
as
chances running
fuck.
for re-election? Again, all your thoughts down in the comments below.
I
As per
don't
usual,
trust
if you
that
like the video, show
fucking
by
guy.
leaving a like.
Dude,
Subscribe for more
Georgia,
content. Follow me on the
fucking
social
just,
medias.
Georgia
Support me
just
via the support links in the
general
description of this video.
there-
This has been me
there's
talking about
some-
another
there's some shady
trash
people
mayor.
there.
Till next.
Do some shady shit. Yeah, look, he's doing drugs right there. Look at that crazy bastard. He's like a Hunter Biden. What do we got here? Oh yeah, this.
The UK's Supreme Court has ruled that the legal definition of a woman in Britain is based on
Correct.
biological sex. This
Yeah,
came
get
after a
fucked.
long-running legal campaign from campaigners who insisted
Yeah, get
that
fucked.
legislation first introduced in Scotland actually discriminated against women. Now, the court has handed down this ruling in a way that will have far-reaching implications across British society, and the
Across
reaction from
British
the UK government
society.
reflects that. The UK government saying in reaction, single-sex spaces are protected in law and will always be protected by this government. The government saying this ruling brings clarity and confidence for women and service providers such as hospitals, refuges and sports clubs. There have been concerns raised about this ruling by trans rights campaigners, but the Supreme Court insisting in its ruling that transgender people do have protection under existing UK equality legislation. Also reaction from the author J.K. Rowling, who had backed these campaigns.
Yeah, fucking what's this? Asmongold. Yeah, he looked at this. I laughed at this too when it's fucking.
In their fight in the first place. She
Got
described
him.
them as extraordinary, tenacious Scottish women. She says that with the case, they've protected the rights of women and girls
Where is
across
it?
the UK. Ollie Barrett, Scripps News Group, London.
Well, I mean, this is a UK win, so you would be playing the fucking UK the UK national anthem or whatever the fuck. But yeah. Well, that's a good win for them, I guess. Again, they still gotta fix their other bullshit though. Alright, here we go. MPs reject two-tier policing claims in 2024.
Reject two-tier policing claims in 2024 riots. Well, of course they will. It's
Yeah.
like, murderer denies being a murderer. Well, of course he will. It's like, of course they're going to deny it. Police forces were in several cases unprepared for the level of violence that broke out in riots after the murder of 3 children in Southport last summer, a report by MPs has found. It left officers exposed to significant risk. Oh, the poor police officers. The Home Affairs Committee said in disorder that saw attacks on mosques and hotels housing asylum seekers. However, the report said the policing response was entirely appropriate given the violence and criminality, with no evidence to suggest two-tier policing. There are people still in prison over posts they made on Facebook.
Correct.
Very severe sentences as well for what they did. Right, posts that absolutely failed the Brandenburg test. Very severe sentences. There were people that were getting jailed just for filming the riots, not taking part. They were just filming it and they were just like there. And they get sent to jail for that. It's absolutely, but then you're getting asylum seekers doing all manners of stuff, and they're not
all
even getting
crazy
deported
shit.
because
Stabbing people and shit.
he's got depression, so
He's
we can't
got
send him
yes.
back
He's
to Afghanistan.
he's
It's a
mentally
joke, right? There is
unstable.
100%
We
two-tier
need to
policing.
protect this person.
The police lead for the national response said the report rightly
He's like
praises
a
the efforts of
depressed
officers
puppy
and
who
staff,
needs help.
adding the
What?
recommendations will be considered.
This motherfucker just stabbed someone.
Disorder
Fuck
broke
out of
across
here.
the country following the fatal stabbings of Baby King 6, Elsie Dot, Stancombe 7, and Alistair
Oh,
Silva
fucker can
Aguiar
get the
9
fucking
at a
book.
Taylor Swift themed dance and yoga event
I'll
in
fucking
Southport
slap
in
the
July
fuck up with a book.
2024.
Get the fuck
8
out.
further children
You
and
get
2
slapped up with a
adults
book
were
too.
also
Fuck you.
injured in the attack. Monday's report identified 246 events which took place in its aftermath, 88 of which were deemed significant, some turning violent. As of 22nd January this year, 1,804 arrests had been made and 1,072 charges issued, the report said. Acknowledging this was the worst disorder the country had seen since 2011, what was it that happened down then again, and what was the police response to the rioters? Don't Google it. Don't worry about it.
No, stop. I don't want to know either. I can already tell it didn't go well.
Police should have better anticipated the risk of disorder.
It never goes well, man. They always fuck up.
Officers across the country worked tirelessly, the report said, but forces being unable to act proactively left them exposed. The bravery and professionalism of the officers was commended after 302 were injured and between 54 and 69 taken to hospital. Staffordshire Police Chief Constable Chris Noble told the committee this will change some officers for the rest of their lives and they will live with the impacts of it for the rest of their lives. Oh, the poor little police officers that jailed the Facebook mums. How traumatizing.
Yeah, oh
the
my
report
goodness.
found no evidence to support claims of two-tier police. Of course, we have investigated ourselves and we have established that we have done nothing wrong.
Is this in the UK?
Finding instead that such commentary
it's Southport
attack.
Yeah,
Of officers
they're on the
and
day
their
of the
efforts
Southport.
to
Yeah, it's about the
jail
Southport
Facebook
attack.
mums. Those participating
do I
in
gotta
disorder
bring up
were
that
not policed
one
more
video
strongly because
of,
their supposed political views, but because they
I
were
don't know if I
throwing
can
missiles, assaulting police officers, and committing arson, it said.
That guy-
Remember when we had our own George Floyd riots? Remember the riots that I just referenced earlier that happened because
Yeah.
that guy was shot by police? Remember all of those? The police response to them was, remember all the Antifa riots when we were all getting attacked back in 2018, 19 and all that? Yeah. The police response was nowhere near what it was in Southport. They all got away with it. There wasn't
Yeah,
a
they
single
all got
arrest
away.
charge.
Yeah,
All
they
had
got
their
a fucking
faces covered, so we don't know who
Yeah, it's
they,
like
they
this
were.
shit right here.
Sorry.
It's like this
but
shit
then
back-
when there was riots about fucking
Right, the thought
about,
police
Tommy
shit,
Robinson being
right?
jailed 3
They
days,
just
they
don't
had
do
everyone- they had
anything.
everyone in 3
They
days.
selectively choose
But you're
whatever
trying to
they
say
want to
there's
do.
no two-tier
It's
policing.
fucking
You're pissing on
weird.
our leg and telling us it's not raining. Telling us it's raining. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, these people are fucking
Later on the
mad.
day of the Southport attack,
No,
police said they had
they're
arrested
cooked.
a 17-year-old male. He was named Axel
fucking
Rudkubana
riot.
3 days later,
Need a
when
riot.
restrictions preventing him from being identified due to his age were lifted.
We need a
Misinformation
rebellion.
regarding the identity of the suspect spread quickly
We
online.
need to go V
following
for
the attack.
vendetta on
Forces
these
in the Home Office said
motherfuckers.
It was a significant factor in the spread of
Fucking
disorder.
break the
reports-
system.
The reports outlines the difficult position Merseyside police faced around publishing details around the suspect, but added the lack of information created a vacuum, where basically, you know, the rumours are what's believed as truth. But it turns out in this case that the rumours were actually true. Merseyside Police's Police and Crime Commissioner Emily Spurrell told the BBC's Today programme, I think possibly there was
Sorry,
a
I
lack
keep
of
looking at the
intelligence,
time 'cause I
particularly
got,
in
like,
terms of
heart
that first
cut
so-called
off.
protest, which obviously then escalated.
Trying to, like, finish
I think
stuff as
potentially
fast
if we
as
had known
possible.
some of the intentions of these individuals then and the scale, then there might have been a different response. But as I say, that response did come, but I think it might have just happened a bit too late.
Yeah, a
that
bit. A bit too fucking late. Jeez.
What, as PCCs, if that feedback is available for our forces, then we will reflect on that and that making sure that chiefs in particular learn that lesson. A recommendation has been made for the Crown
it's
Prosecution
like a
Service to
fucking-
publish its new media protocol as soon as possible and keep it regularly updated after MPs found existing guidance was
But the
not fit for
people
the social
are
media age.
retarded.
Literally.
That's kind of true.
The people are fucking retarded.
However, any type of information you get from the government, the police, or the state in general is probably a massive lie that's just used to influence you. They're just going to basically go, oh, lie through your teeth so that people don't riot again.
Yeah.
Because the British man is fed up. The British man is a little bit of a powder keg at the moment, as Southport definitely demonstrated.
Oh, they're a bunch of
CPS
snowflakes.
spokesperson said work
And
to
then they
update that
allowed their
protocol
own
began before the
constituents to get
disorder,
fucked
adding
up.
they are
It's
working to
fucking
publish
weird.
an updated version later this year. Alongside this, we support proposals for law reform.
Like, they could
which will make
easily
the
stop the
application of
perpetrator,
contempt
too.
law
It
clearer
doesn't
and
make any
simpler.
fucking sense.
Basically, they don't want the
They
native
could
white
easily
British man
stop
rising up.
them.
That's what
They
don't
have
want.
the
I'll save it for
tools.
the end. I'll save it for the end.
You keep taking away the
Chief
tools
Constable B.G.
from
Harrington,
normal
who led the
citizens
national
who
response,
want to
said, "We are
protect
pleased that the
themselves.
report robustly disagrees with the
And then
notion
you
of
guys
two-tier
give all
policing."
the tools to
You're gonna love
yourselves.
that, because
It's like,
that's your
what?
arse not in the line anymore.
And then you don't
We
even
are
do
also
anything with the
appreciative of
tools.
consideration given to
You
the
allow people
dangerous
to just
and,
get
of
fucked
mis- and
up. Like,
disinformation
what?
on social media, which remain substantial areas
Why
of
the
risk for policing.
fuck do you even
Committee
make
Chair
people
Dame
buy
Karen
the
Bradley
tools
said,
if they can't
"Lessons
even
must be learned
fucking
from
get
the way
them?
the criminal justice system worked as a whole. It will need to ensure that
You're not
police
even
forces can
defending
improve
people.
how they deal with regular policing work,
Jesus.
as well as supporting them to
Those are
develop capacity
terrible.
to respond to crises." A government spokesperson says
At this
they were
point,
working
you
closely
guys
with
are like the
police to both
fucking
improve national
Gestapo, man.
decision-making and support for officers.
Goddamn
And here we are at
secret
the end of the
police
article.
fuckheads.
Now, this was basically the extreme prison sentences were to basically make the native white British man shut the fuck up and be
Yeah.
too terrified to stand up against the government.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
shit, if
gotta
you get in prison
rule with
after
an
riot and
iron
made said the
fist
wrong
to
thing in
fucking-
Facebook, 3 years. You just get 3 years just like that.
Yeah,
So
you
shut
got-
your fucking face.
you're gonna-
You
you're
sit
gonna
there and
bend
you
down
just
and
watch us
blow.
destroy
Sucks.
the country, and you will keep your little mouth shut, son, won't you?
You're gonna
Right,
get
but
pegged and you're
however,
gonna
things like
fucking
this,
like it.
weirdly enough, help.
This
Right,
is
'cause
government.
basically, we all saw what they did.
This is government
We all saw
actual
what they did
rape,
to the Facebook mums
literally.
and the working class and the people that are fed up of
The
what our
government
country's
is
turning into and that felt
doing some
helpless to
very
stop
shady
any of it.
shit.
Right, they got a little bit upset about it. They fucking expressed that through riots, which, as far as I knew, you know, when the left do it, it's completely fucking fine and none of them get arrested.
Yeah.
Right, so the right thought that they could do it as well, but apparently not. The right's not allowed to riot. You know, as they say, a riot is the voice of the unheard. Right, but apparently it's not okay when the right wing do it. So an example
Yeah.
was made of all the little Facebook mums to terrify people from doing it ever again. However, again, we all saw what they did.
Yeah, there was
We're not
also
meant to talk about it
there was
openly,
also
but
a
we
lot
can
of
talk about it with
instances
each
on
other in the
TikTok where
privacy
those
of our own
guys were
homes and bars,
posting
and that message can
videos
still
of
spread about. And a lot of the
basically
people
the
sent to jail,
Gestapo coming by
all had
and
children.
talking to them.
Oh, why was Daddy in children? Well, why was Daddy in children? Oh, wow. Hopefully Daddy was never in children.
Yeah, Jesus.
Fucking hell. Well, if Daddy was in children, Daddy deserves prison.
Jesus.
But what I meant to say was, why was Daddy in prison? Oh, Daddy stood up against the government. That's why Daddy was missing for a good few of your very formative years where you needed him the most
Daddy
when you were a small
didn't.
child.
Daddy didn't
That's why
go
Daddy
get
was away in
milk.
prison. The government took
The
him
government
from you.
took him.
The government took him away from you because Daddy stood up to them.
Yeah, I
What
went
do
to
you
go
think's gonna
get
happen to those
milk and the
children when they grow up?
government abducted.
What are those children going to think of the government when they grow up?
Oh man. That was Count Dankula. The electric boogaloo.
Good lord,
Yeah,
this
this
was cringe.
happened.
Imagine being so privileged as to visit space, then spending more time performing into cameras than actually looking out the window.
Oh yeah, Katy Perry was on there. That's
She's
right.
so awestruck by the vastness of the cosmos that it's given her a stunning revelation into the
Well, I mean,
comparative
some of these
meaninglessness
people
of
wanted
fame
to
and
go on
celebrity.
there
No,
because it
she's
was
glued
like
herself to a camera so she can milk every minute of social media clout.
Dream or
What are you
something?
doing? Why bathe in the enriching magnificence of the infinite when you can just do this instead?
Jesus.
Now it's time to look out. Look out the fucking window. Why
Look
savor
out
and
the
cherish every
fucking
moment of an
window,
experience that virtually no one else on earth will ever have when you can hijack it for shameless self-promotion? She's literally shilling her new tour set list. Unbelievable.
No.
I mean, it's not like they had hours up there, is it? I've had longer
She's
shifts.
on-
Then one
she's
of them
on a-
desperately implores the others to actually
She's
look
on her
out the window.
space testing data flight thing to
Within literal
promote
seconds,
herself.
Terry turns completely away from it to continue her cringe theatrics.
Why?
They spent more time
What
pissing
is
about
she
with
doing?
teddies and other objects.
Flynn, I gotcha.
Oh
I gotcha,
no.
Flynn. Gotcha.
What the
Come here.
fuck?
Come here, it's in space. Oh my gosh.
What the fuck?
And I have so much gratitude that we're
So
able to be able
cringe.
to do this. It's not about going to space.
It's about what we bring
Holy,
back.
holy shit! There's so much Botox and facelift and everything.
On your iPhone.
Jesus.
Hardly a project of interstellar
Those
proportions.
two
was
women,
it? More like an
the-
utterly pointless
no,
ego trip. Attention
Jesus.
seekers with a combined net worth of more than 400
I'm an
million
asshole, I'm
cosplaying
sorry.
for a glorified carnival ride.
1, 2, 3, taking up space!
If by taking up space you mean annoyingly getting in the way and accessing absolutely nothing, then
Holy
yeah.
shit.
I guess.
You guys are a
Sounded more
waste
like
of
a
space.
hen
I was
party.
so sorry.
There it is.
It looked like a scene from a Black Mirror episode where they send all the morons into space and tell them they're not coming back.
Yeah, that'd be fucking.
I mean,
You ain't
really,
coming
wouldn't
back,
it
you're
have
up
been
there
one of
forever.
humanity's greatest achievements to just leave them there.
Embrace the sweet emptiness of space.
What's more cringe than the story itself? Mainstream media's coverage of it as Ground News' biased comparison coverage
Oh,
shows.
no,
Left-leaning
got us
outlets
with the
largely
ad.
ignored the staged theatrics and focused
Oh.
almost entirely on the feminist angle, including this particularly grating headline: Katy Perry and crew officially put the S in astronaut. Oof, that's bad. This is why I've partnered with Ground News for years now. They're the only app and website showing me the full picture on the most important issues, like gathering news from across the political spectrum and breaking
No,
down each
get
source's
the
political
ad
even
away
financial backing. I can see the
from
world
me.
as it is, not as the bias would want to see it. Try it for yourself at ground.news/PJW. The link is down below. Or scan the QR code on screen. Ground News has helped dissipate all the overwhelming clutter on my social media. So instead of endlessly scrolling trying to figure out what's important and what's spin, they show me the truth in one clear format. Best thing is, Ground News isn't a new tool that you have to learn. They're a better version of the doom scrolling we all do. One look at their blind spot feed will show how many supposedly neutral
Hard to
outlets actually
use
lean
it.
left and why they got certain narratives for stories like this one. I've never felt more ahead and informed of breaking news. Ground News has truly become an invaluable tool in helping shape my daily news digest. And after reading your comments, I know you'd benefit too, so I got my viewers 40% off the same unlimited Vantage plan that I'm using. Just go to ground.news/PJW or scan the QR code on screen. It's just $5 a month to think for yourself with clarity and context. And since we've all got that friend relative who only shares news from BBC or CNN, you can save the debate and send my
America has to come in and save the day.
Be part of that fight by going to
Yeah, sorry, fuck. I'm sorry. Back here.
News/PJW.
Astronauts throughout history in various...
Why is Bezos wearing a spacesuit? He's not even on the
Wait,
flight.
was that Bezos? Oh yeah, because his wife. I forgot that was Bezos' wife. No wonder she looks so fucked up. I'm so sorry, I'm an asshole, but it's why do you gotta do that to yourself? Why do you gotta get the Brazilian butt lift and the lips and the cheekbones and the Botox and the lip injection? It's like, Jesus fuck, why? It's fucking gross.
After spending virtually the entire time with her face self-indulgently stuck in front of an onboard camera lens, Harry then had the temerity to
Like,
pretend
it's
to reclaim
one
some sort of
thing
wondrous
if
feminist journey of
you want to
self-discovery.
do it because
you're like really
you
finding
have
love for
some
yourself, because you
like
gotta trust in yourself on this journey, and then you're feeling the love when you come down for sure, and you're feeling
deformity
that
that
strength. So I feel really
it would
connected to that.
actually
Strong,
like help.
divine feminine right now.
But other
Shilling
than
tickets
that,
for your next concert.
By the way, you're such a badass. I love that the month of April, you're like, I'm going to space and I'm launching my tour.
Yeah, interesting timing, wasn't it? I'm surprised she wasn't sponsored by Just Eat.
Oh wait, shit. What was it still on?
Really connected to that strong, defined.
Then had the temerity to pretend
Doing is
some sort of wondrous feminist journey of self-discovery.
what you're doing is you're like really finding the love for yourself because you got to trust in yourself on this journey, and then you're feeling
can
the love
find
when you
yourself
come down
other
for
ways
sure,
than
and you're
whatever
feeling
the
that
fuck you
strength.
just
So I
did.
feel really connected to that strong, divine feminine right now.
Love, you were shilling tickets for your next concert.
By the way, you're such a badass. I love that the month of April, you're like, I'm going to space and I'm launching my tour.
Yeah, interesting timing,
Oh,
wasn't it? I'm surprised
that's
she wasn't sponsored.
There it is. Oh, I'm going into space, launching my tour. What the fuck? It says it right there.
Sponsored by Just Eat.
And this whole journey is not just about going to space. It's the training.
Oh yeah, the training was brutal.
Like, what did they do during their 2 days? Okay, here they are. Their tasks, they spent the past 2 days at facilities for Blue Origin going over preparations, according to Blue Origin's Ariane Cornell. Their tasks included
Safety?
practicing how to get into and out of the New Shepard capsule.
Wait, just going in and out of the capsule? That's it?
You go in, and then you go out.
Oh, because
once again,
there was
ladies.
no controls
Okay.
or anything.
The group also
Oh yeah, that's right. You do kind of have to be a computer scientist to kind of know what kind of fucking controls and dials you're fucking with. Not only that, but I don't think they went on the fucking training that some of these guys go on for like the G-force and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, or some of the zero gravity training they have to do. It's like, yeah, they don't do the extensive training that some of these other people do.
Practiced how to put on and take off their seatbelts.
Yeah, they're not, yeah.
And there you were thinking this couldn't get any
Yeah,
more
they were never gonna
idiocracy
be able to
until noted
operate a
astrophysicist
fucking...
the Kardashians showed up to provide expert
No, are they
commentary.
going
The messaging that
to...
we keep receiving from the staff here at Blue Origin is don't film it through your phones, look through your eyes, be as present as possible.
Yeah, didn't take that advice, did they? Equally insufferable was much of the histrionic media coverage. Katy Perry,
No
Gayle King
way.
and Lauren Sanchez go to space and back in historic all-female Blue Origin flight. Historic? Yeah, if you ignore the
Jesus
fact
Christ,
that the
this
Russians did
is
it 60
women,
years
why?
ago. If by all-female you mean a bunch of celebs
Women, why are you
pissing
like
out at the
this?
expense of the world's second richest man on a rocket built almost entirely by men, while a bunch of almost
You
entirely
literally
dudes
want all
control
men to
virtually every
suicide?
aspect of the flight. Still, at least they officially got
Jesus
to put the
Christ.
ass in astronaut.
Fucking Jiminy Cricket. Oh my god.
If you value what I do and you want
Condoleezza
to help support
Rice.
me, please visit pauljosephwatson.locals.com and either
Ellen
pledge
Keller
a one-time
versus
donation
trains.
or subscribe
Jesus.
to join my community, get early access videos, and message me directly. And exclusive live streams coming soon too. Promise. Check out the Locals link down in the description. And don't forget to take a look at the brand new website, modernity.news. That's where you'll find all my content, including exclusive articles. That's
Modernity.news. There you have it.
modernity.news.
RFK Jr. pledges to fund the cause of autism.
RFK Jr. pledges to find the cause of autism by
Yeah,
September.
he has been going on this rant.
Let's get into this one. U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has pledged a massive testing and research effort to determine the cause of autism.
Yeah,
he
says like what was it? 1 in 5.
This is a little bit close to my heart because my
1 in
eldest
6
is autistic.
or something like that.
She's extremely intelligent. And she talks. She says full songs. She turns around and looks at you whenever you say her name and stuff like that. But she's not communicating. She's not vocally communicating. But she'll sing entire songs. She'll do that. She knows her whole alphabet forwards and backwards. She knows every word for every nursery rhyme off by heart and everything. She figures out the locks to things very, very fucking quickly. I hate that. It's really, really annoying and everything. But she's extremely intelligent. She's not non-verbal. She talks and sings perpetually, but she's just non-communicative. But she's extremely smart. So see when she finally starts talking.
She's
out.
just
When she hits the internet one day,
non-communicative.
Watch out. However, she's not
people
going to be
for
allowed
some
on the internet
reason
until she's 16.
But she has like that.
Experts
Basically,
say, and
she's
I
a
want to know the
tortured
cause of
artist.
autism because back in the day, it was meant to be something. It was something ridiculous like 1 in 400 or something. Now it's like 1 in 30. Basically, something is happening that is making
something
the rates
is
of autism
happening where-
skyrocket.
Yeah.
Right, something is happening. Something caused that, and some people think it's vaccines. Some people think it's diet. Some people think it's some other factors that we don't know about. And I would be interested to get to the bottom of it. But anyway,
I mean, it could be all the
experts
factors.
caution,
It could be
that
all
finding
factors.
the causes of autism spectrum disorder,
Right, because
a complex
mutation-
syndrome that has been studied for
Trying
decades,
to predict
will
what
not be
caused the
straightforward and
mutation
call
is
the
so
effort misguided
fucking
and
difficult,
unrealistic.
especially when you have
Why? I think
right
it's
so
very
many
important for us
factors
to
at
find
play.
the cause of a mental affliction. I say affliction, but like, here's my hot take on autism. If autism didn't exist, civilization would be 400 years less technologically advanced than it is now. That's my hot
Correct.
take on autism. Because they're smart as fuck. And see if you
Correct.
see if
I
you
mean,
look
Albert,
at every single
right, some
if
of
you look
the-
at every
some of the
single, like, great
greatest
scientists,
right, some of these
Galileo,
guys
fucking
were
Newton,
fucking
Einstein, fucking look at all
autists.
of them and then look at their social behavior.
Yeah.
They were autistic, right? That's just my hot take on
Fyodor
autism. Again, it's a mental affliction, and I thought the point of like doctors and stuff like that was they were to find the sources of what causes these ailments.
But he was basically
I thought that was the
autistic.
point, but now they're not. No, don't.
He was fucking. He got fucked up a lot because of fucking prison. He got like PTSD and shit.
We might see, but anyway. Kennedy, who is promoted
some of these guys went through terrible shit, and they got fucking terrible fucking mental ailments because of it.
Hundreds of scientists from around the world.
Mental instability.
By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
Edgar Allan Poe,
autism diagnoses
smart guy,
have increased
but he went through
since
fucking
2000,
hell.
according to government figures. And by 2020, the rate amongst 8-year-olds reached 2.77%, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
I think he died a drunkard
3
too,
out of every
which
100
was
people,
unfortunate.
so we call it 1 out of every 33. 1 out of every 33 people is autistic. Back in the day, it was like 1 in 400. Something has happened to increase the rate of autism, right? And you would think that every single doctor and scientist out there would be like, let's have a look into this and see what it might be. But no.
Yeah, no.
They're like, no, don't do that. Don't look.
No, don't look.
You can't go in here. Don't
no.
look.
Don't do
Fucking
it.
suspicious, isn't it? But anyway,
Close your
scientists
eyes.
attribute at least part of the rise to increased
Shield your
awareness
eyes.
of autism. You're fucking
It's not safe.
and an expanding definition of the disorder. Researchers have also been investigating environmental factors. Oh, it's climate change.
Yeah.
Climate change is
well,
making everyone interested in.
I hate to say it, but there's also those instances in the past where they have dumped fucking chemical waste, right, in certain cities, towns, right, ocean, right. I mean, it could be getting into the fucking food source and shit. I mean, who knows, man? Who knows?
Trains and really good at programming.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm certain it's climate change. The U.S. National Institute
Yeah,
of Health,
right. You have
agency spends more
right.
than
You have people literally doing some of the most dangerous jobs that have them fucking with pretty dangerous chemicals sometimes. And then they fucking whiff that, right? They get that into their system sometimes because they're smelling it. Not good. Right? Sometimes they're touching it too. Fucking not good.
$100 million per year researching autism. The NIH lists some possible risk factors, including prenatal exposure to pesticides, could very well be one actually, or air pollution. Premature birth or low birth weight, maternal.
Air pollution has always been a thing, right? We all know that air pollution has always been a thing. To an extent, people don't. I don't even know if you could really run a study on how damaging the air pollution is to just the human body over a long-term effect. I mean, I guess you could, given the data of. I guess you would have to look back during the industrial boom, right? When shit started hitting the fan. With a lot of the pollution shit going on during that time.
Health problems and parents conceiving at older ages. Kennedy did not give details on the research project or how much funding will be devoted to autism research. Since being sworn in 2 months ago, the former environmental lawyer has
you would
slashed
have
the budget for the Department of Health
you would
and
have to look at the effects of when it started. Right, see some of the cases that happened there, and then go back. Right, start going towards the present. See some of like the fucked up wastes and dumps, and see what those did to the ecosystems and shit. See if anybody got affected or sick or anything. Right, that's a lot of fucking research. Just thinking of all that shit. Right, that's a lot.
Services, which includes the NIH, CDC, and other government health organizations that oversee food and drug safety and conduct disease research.
You'd have to be looking
at
specific things too.
But we're going to look at everything. Kennedy later said during an interview with
every
Fox News about
specific
the
things and
undertaking.
everything. Right?
Everything is on the table: our food system, our water, our air, different ways of parenting, all the kinds of changes.
Well, I mean by specific as in like how did each instance happen?
America
right?
called Kennedy's plan harmful, misleading, and unrealistic. So the
Right,
Autism Society themselves don't want to know the cause.
Was it
They don't want to know
animals
the
getting
cause, and they
sick
don't want
with
autism being
something, and
prevented,
then
because if there's less
they
autism,
fucking
that means
slaughtered
less
them
fucking
and then
money.
passed it on to us, right?
Advocacy groups should be advocating for their own
Was it
obsolescence.
pollution in the
Right,
air
whereas a
that
case of,
also
like, for me,
contributing factor?
I would love my
right,
free speech activism to be completely
there's so
obsolete.
many
because it's
fucking
not
contributing
needed anymore.
factors.
There we go, job
It's
done. I'll hop on my horse and ride into the sunset.
Yeah.
Build myself a fucking cabin by a lake and
Yeah,
fish
no,
for the rest of my
yeah.
life and die.
Not only that, but yes, you also have the sun, right? Sun cancer. That's happening too. So yeah, there's so many contributing factors. It's hard to pinpoint like what's the specific thing that's causing it. Right.
And happiness knowing that my job's done. Right, I don't want the money. I want the goal. That's what I fucking want. But Autism Society seem to have a little bit of a different opinion on that.
Try not
Why
to
is
go
that?
into the
That's
mines
curious.
too much.
It is neither a
You might
chronic
get
illness
sick.
nor a contagion, the society said. Fucking hell, if autism's contagious,
You might
I'm
get
fucked.
like
Literally half my staff are autistic.
You might get those gases
I
that
mean, you may
might
have
fucking
noticed that
kill
I
you.
prefer autistic people.
Because there's just a pocket of
It's a weird
fucking
thing. I prefer them.
dangerous
They make much better company.
gas that might kill
Christopher
you.
Banks, the society's president, questioned whether the research efforts would be transparent and said claims that autism is solely caused by environmental factors were misleading theories which perpetuate harmful stigma, jeopardize public health, and distract from the critical needs of the autism community. So you want us to deal with the symptom and not the cause. Curious that. Kennedy has also alarmed some over his hiring of David Geer, who's been described by some as a conspiracy theorist to research vaccines and autism. And on Thursday, Democrats in the U.S. House of Representatives.
Yeah, so Kennedy thinks that vaccines have some kind of contributing factor to autism in some form or fashion, because you are injecting yourself with something that's made out of a fucking lab. I mean, we've always been fucking injecting ourselves with stuff made out of a fucking lab, or consuming stuff made out of a fucking lab. That's what pills are, right? And then you got the pollution factor. You got the food factor. You got the animal interaction right? You're just interacting with a bunch of animals on the daily almost, or sort of, right? Especially if you're working with farm animals and stuff, right? It depends, right? What else? Depends on your job too, what you're doing as a job. Are you fucking around with shit? Are you messing with chemicals? Stuff like that, right? There's a lot of contributing factors.
There's an urgent concern over the selection of a biased and discredited individual. Well then, let him do the research and discredit himself even further. Fucking hell, you have a double whammy to use against him and you can shut him up forever.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, right? They try to stop all these weird research and development stuff. And then now the government is trying to reestablish new research and development, and everyone's like, "No, you can't do this. Don't do this. You're wasting our money." It's like, what the fuck?
What are you worried about?
Did you not see what the
worried
fucking Biden
Here is he leading
administration
vaccine
did?
skeptic.
Fucking
Now everybody
idiots.
goes, he's a conspiracy theorist. A lot of people are becoming, they're not conspiracy theorists anymore because a lot of the stuff that's coming out is
becoming true.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying vaccines cause autism.
Yeah,
but
I've
I
not
would like
seen
them
it.
to look into it to see whether they do.
Yeah, I mean,
or
I
not.
would like to. I would like to.
I see
know.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
A
I see
claim has
nothing
been
wrong
made.
with that either.
Let's check the claim.
Yeah, let's check it. There's no.
I see nothing wrong with that. And if all this research goes through and then it comes out that vaccines don't actually cause
Look, I'm
autism,
doing
then
research
there we
on
are.
fucking
There we are.
cancer,
Everyone's fine. You've
and
nothing to
trying
worry
to
about.
deter,
Right,
trying
and then if you
to
were so convicted in your
get
belief, you would be
the,
like, okay, go check. Like, go check. I know that my science for a fact is sound.
get
There
the
you are, go
accuracy
waste,
rating
waste a
at
few
which
100 million checking it. But
person has which
you're not
cancer.
like that. You're kind of like, no, don't look.
Just by training
Right, that's what's making
models
people
off
suspicious.
of right
That type
data
of behavior is what
and
makes us
their
worried. Because see, when everyone's like, don't look, that
RNA
makes me go, okay,
sequence
now I
and
really want to
right,
fucking
other
look because you're blatantly
data
hiding
signatures.
something. Right, so just let the research happen, and if it turns out they don't, then whatever, you're still correct. Then if it turns out they do, then a conversation must be had. But anyway, Geer is a leading vaccine skeptic who was fined by the state of Maryland for practicing medicine without a medical degree or license and prescribing dangerous treatments to autistic children. We're off their flyer. The discredited idea that childhood vaccines are linked to autism first gained mainstream attention after a paper published in 1998 in the medical journal The Lancet by British doctor Andrew Wakefield. Wakefield was later found to have financial conflicts of interest. Wow, how unusual for any fucking medical scientist.
Yeah, no, the whole medical field is fucking right. There's been a lot of underfunding and overfunding in some aspects, right? Also, you have to take into consideration some of the scientists that were creating some of these industries. They made some fucked up things sometimes, right? Oh yeah, I mean, and it wasn't out of it wasn't out of purpose. It was just a byproduct because, well, they were just trying to make something that helped human society, but in turn, it also created something fucking devastating too.
That's totally not happened before. And the UK's General Medical Council found that he falsified his results. The research paper
the smokeless or the smellless gas stuff.
I'm not saying
that was created by a scientist.
Something's causing autism. Something is causing a huge spike in cases, right? Something is for a fact.
Well, it was
I think
it was basically the manure
and
stuff.
And medical
right, that scientist who created manure and shit.
Right now. Do vaccines cause autism?
Yeah, he actually caused a lot of death
do the research
during.
And let's finally put it to bed.
It was during World War. Was it World War II? I forgot. It was It was the gas chamber guy. Well, he basically made the gas chambers in a sense because he made that fucking gas. Yeah, this guy. Haber-Bosch process, yeah. Yes, this guy. He received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1918 for his invention of the Haber process, a method used in industry to synthesize ammonia from nitrogen gas and hydrogen gas. This is the guy. So, yeah. Even someone who's just trying to help humanity can create something very fucking dangerous. Nope. Just fucking happens. And basically that led for a boom in just horrific shit during the wars. Or any conflict, right? Because they were doing fucking bioweapon fucking bullshit during that time. Alright, anyways. I think I'm gonna call it there. Cause I got a fucking class in the morning and I'm kinda hungry. I'm gonna go eat. Chill out before bed. Take it easy.